Hello. In this video, we'll be going over IRS Form W-9S, Request for Students or Borrowers Taxpayer Identification and Certification. So this tax form is pretty straightforward to complete. It's not going to take more than a couple of minutes to go through each of the parts, so I'll begin by explaining a little bit about why this is an important tax form. So most people might be aware of the W-9, which is a similar request for a taxpayer identification number. You might get this from your bank or your investment firm whenever you first start. And the W-9 is to provide your taxpayer identification number, either social security number or individual taxpayer ID number for people that aren't yet eligible for a social security number. That way, when they do their tax reporting to the IRS, that institution knows how to report your earnings, whether it's interest, dividends, capital gains, properly to the IRS and tie it to your tax ID number. And if you don't complete that W-9, then the IRS requires what's called backup withholding. So there's a similar request, but it's treated a little bit differently. W-9S is specifically for either a student or someone who may be a parent that's borrowing on the student's behalf to send that person to college. So there's not really any backup withholding that applies. Instead, what happens is properly completing a W-9S allows that college to report your information and to the IRS using either IRS Form 1098-T, which is the tuition statement, or 1098-E, which is the student loan interest statement. Both of those statements are required to either claim one of the education tax credits or to claim a deduction on student loan interest. So the downside of not completing a W-9S for you as the taxpayer is that if your college does not have the appropriate information, they're not going to be able to issue one of these tax forms, which would possibly result in a lower tax bill. So there's no penalty, there's no backup withholding. You simply will not have the information you need to claim the appropriate credits and deductions. So let me make sure I've covered all the points. So another thing, beginning in 2026, taxpayers that are claiming either the American Opportunity Tax Credit or the Lifetime Learning Credit on IRS Form 8863 must have a valid Social Security number. In the past, it used to be there would be certain cases that you may be eligible for a credit with an ITIN, and that is no more. Now you must have a Social Security number. So let's go through and complete this. It's pretty simple. Let's just imagine that John Doe is completing this because he's borrowed some money to send his daughter Elizabeth off to college. So all right, so we just completed the form. John would then print it off, sign it, and date it. So, and the reason why you have to sign it is because you're certifying that all of these loan proceeds, if you're borrowing, are solely used to pay for qualified higher education expenses. So we can get into a lot more detail about what qualified higher education expenses are, but let's just say that those are basically the costs of attending an eligible education institution on at least a half-time basis. This would also include graduate school. Generally, these costs include tuition and then certain related expenses. So we'll break down exactly what those expenses are. But so qualified higher education expenses could include tuition and fees, books, supplies, and equipment, expenses for special needs beneficiaries, expenses for room and board if the student is enrolled at least part-time, half-time. There is a certain limit to the amount of that's allowed for room and board. And then the purchase of computer peripheral equipment, internet access, software, stuff that's required for the education. So they're really, that is pretty much the limit for qualified higher education expenses. You'll notice that doesn't include things like extracurricular activities or, sorority or fraternity dues. I mean, they're pretty much directly cost for attending college and the associated fees, books, materials needed to go through a course. Part 3, the requester information is an optional field, and what the instructions say about Part 3 really has to do with identifying the account for which this form W-9S relates. So the requester, the institution, may put in this information and then attach a student account number or a loan account number. Again, this would be for their internal purposes. When you complete this form, you're not going to send it to the IRS. You're going to give it to the institution. It's their responsibility to maintain records. So that really completes this walkthrough. As I mentioned, there's not a whole lot of detail about this. You complete Part 1, you sign Part 2, you turn it over to the education institution. They may or may not choose to complete Part 3. That would be in accordance with their record policy. And this is solely so that they can issue you the proper 1098 forms at the end of each year. So the one question that I have been asked is this required to be completed? Well, institutions are required to request your taxpayer information. You are supposed to complete this form, but if you do not, then really the only downside is that you are shortchanging your ability to claim certain tax credits and deductions. So take that for what you wish. We'll put links in the show notes to all of the related those resources we've created on related forms that we discussed in this video. We'll also put a link to the article, which you can find on teachmepersonalfinance.com. Simply go to the website and go to the search bar, type in IRS Form W-9S. This article should appear, or you can click the link in the show notes. If you have any questions, comments, or if there's something that you'd like to see in an upcoming video, please hit me up. Have a great day.